Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for investing time with us. So my name is Joseph Chen. I'm the Chief Digitalization Officer of Hong Kong MA, and I'm excited to be the moderator of this section. Today, we have an amazing panel to talk about how global pandemic is accelerating the digitalization of financial services. So our goal today is that whatever your role is in this industry, that you will come away with something such like a new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to be more successful in your business. So let me take a moment to briefly introduce the panelists and tell a little bit about their background. I will then kick off the conversation, asking questions and draw out some of the high-level themes and trends that we should be thinking about. Let's get started, with the panel introduction. Our first panelist is Ms. Angel Ng. Angel is the Chief Executive Officer for Citi Hong Kong and Macau. So I think apart from the busy, day-to-day work as a CEO of Citibank, Citi Hong Kong and Macau, Angel is a strong advocate of work-life balance and diversity. So Angel is a member of the Citi Women Global Affinity Steering Committee. She's also the founding member of the Informal Women Chief Executive Group that's inspired to drive gender diversity and develop female talent in the industry. And then our second panelist is Mr. Kelvin Choi. Kelvin is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of AMTD Group and the founder and Chairman of AMTD Foundation. In 2017, Kelvin was selected as a young global leader by World Economic Forum, and he was also selected by the Institutional Investor magazine as one of the global FinTech Finance 35 in 2016. So both Angel and Kelvin have been contributing significantly to driving the digital transformation and cultivating a culture of innovation for the financial industry. So without further ado, so let me invite both Angel and Kelvin to give their views on our first question. I think it's a very popular topic, talking about the COVID-19, the impact. COVID-19 hit Hong Kong in early 2020. And since then, the way, certain financial services are delivered to customers have been changed. So how has that, banking industry been affected by COVID-19, and what measures have Hong Kong banks taken? Do you see a shift in consumer behavior during the pandemic? So maybe let me pose this question to Angel first.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Kelvin, that we can share a panel today. Nowadays, we can not talk about the pandemic and its implication, to our lives as well as to our business. For banking industry, actually, the impact of COVID is huge. As you all know, running a bank is very operation heavy. Historically, bank staff who carry out all those operations tends to be very site dependent. And we actually, manage a lot of the transactions for our clients every day. So staff, need to have system access. Bank has to have very strong, process control. And often, there is time pressure. Say, for example, like cutoff time, every day. So COVID definitely posed challenges, where we cannot allow our staff, to work on site. But thanks to technology, nowadays, many of those requirements can be resolved by tech solution. As of now, we have more than 90% of our people, are remote access enabled and installed, many digital solutions, not just for processing, but also, for, control, allowing most of our staff, working from home, yet we were still able to provide the same level of services to our clients. But needless to say, there are a lot of digital deployment and workflow redesign that enable us to do so. Joseph, you asked about consumer behavior. Consumer behavior definitely have changed a lot, and in so many ways, because of this pandemic. Even in Hong Kong, where we have never had a full lockdown, people have been going out less. They are buying a lot more online and making more contactless payment. We have seen an increase in our digital active customer base, which is now at over 80% in our credit card business, and also, online purchases now accounts for more than 40%, of the total overall card spending. And video banking usage has been increased by 60% since the beginning of the pandemic. One point that I want to make, though, is that the banking industry has been adopting these digital services and products for a few years already. So the transformation that's been going on was not originally driven by COVID, but COVID definitely accelerates, the pace of it. When we first introduced these digital initiatives, we wanted to enhance customer experience and to make banking more convenient. And right now, the ability to deliver, these digital capabilities is even more critical because that help to protect our customer who can pretty much perform nearly all transactions through our digital channels these days without the need to subject themselves to health risk by going into a branch physically. So today, close to 30% of our new accounts opened are remotely done without the need for the customer to physically visit a branch. Over 85% of our FX transactions are conducted through digital channels, and our mutual fund transaction volume has increased by 20% since we launched e-mutual fund features on our mobile app. So our view is definitely that the customer will continue to embrace digital when the pandemic is behind us, after having experienced firsthand and superior client journey.
Thank you, Angel. I think it's very fruitful, sharing on that. I truly believe, the e-penetration will continue to go up and for the time being. And let me turn to, Calvin. What's your view? How can you actually, capture the shift right during this period?
Thanks, Joseph. And it's also my pleasure to have share a panel again with you, Angel. Customer behavior, we see that during pandemic changed drastically. So on the overall basis, I think we see a sharp decline in the physical engagement with financial services companies. And from the customer side, onward with the financial institution. And we see that it's pretty much like an overnight increase in the digital everything happening. I think Angel talked about the overall basis of our day-to-day living. So we are seeing that, to extend from our living, no matter spending, no matter shopping, no matter ordering food delivery, in terms of our daily living, onward also to workplace. Nowadays, I think we are conducting our work, mostly, at remote, convenience. But at the same time, I think, through various types of online virtual channels of communication. So all this, we are seeing it, several aspects of result of it. One is that we are seeing that the customers are in greater power or in demand, for services. So they are actually, have less patience for services because that, every moment in time that when they engage with a channel, they would want to demand for many things, right? So I think, the one-stop digital solution is something that we see as important and emerging. Another point that we see that is that there will be a call for greater power and values for social contracts. So in a way that I think during pandemic, there are lots of uncertainties created, for the economy and also changing the behavior of our day-to-day living. But yet, for our overall basis, we are seeing that the customers, they are still seeing financial institutions, especially banks, for such brands, as a source for reliability, as a place, for the center of care. So they would want to ask for more than banking. So this actually, we see it as a great opportunity for banks, for financial institutions to step up, to offering solutions, beyond the traditional way. But then, there will be lots of opportunities that we can collaborate, we can cooperate, with other, collaborative partners that different concepts, emerge as very much important. One is partnership approach that we see more and more of the collaboration between fintech and traditional play. And then for traditional banking, there will be a more openness for the incumbents to open up for more partnership, for the with the fintech players and also with players like that, now that, thanks to HMA, with the recent granting out of the virtual banking licenses, we are very glad that to partner with Xiaomi, that we have the ASR Bank. So in the future, you will see more open banking platform, more banking as a service, and a one-stop digital solution to happen, for the customers.
Totally agree, Calvin. I like, the idea of stay hungry, would get more power, as an end user, as a retail customer, we always want more, right? So I think that's the reason, driving us forward, absolutely. And then in terms of like the relative strength of incumbents, and the new entrants, I think this question will go to Angel first, right? Like as a incumbent player, Citi has established a long-term trust, and grown a large customer, global customer base. So how does this strength, prepare you against the current entry into the market of virtual banks? Sounds a little bit challenging to me.
Thank you, Joseph. But first and foremost, I want to highlight that I respect all of my competitions, virtual bank or not. So I also welcome them because I think, they actually bring in a lot of fresh ideas, into the industry. But in your question, Joseph, you mentioned a very important word, trust. Customers entrust the bank, with their hard-earned money and rely on us to move their money in fulfilling their daily needs, right? So Citi has been operating in Hong Kong for more than 100 years and proven, to be a trustworthy partner for our customers in many aspects. So I think this is a very important strength, and asset, that the bank has. Also, you mentioned about, having an established client base. Certainly, it is an advantage, because customers are the best source of feedback. Everything that we do or not do, they tell us something. With the information, we can definitely anticipate, emerging needs and continue, to develop, our product and services, that can best suit their needs. A large customer base also play, to the benefit of scale. However, I have to say that these days, customer experience is everything. This applies to all the companies, whether you are new to the market or an established name, with a loyal customer base. So we are on the same level playing field, with the virtual banks on that. Developing a superior client experience is about really, zeroing in on, the customer journey, to make sure that every interaction, that with our clients, both online and offline, is completely free of friction. We need to be able to turn okay experiences, into great experience and solve the client pain points, better than the others. In order to deliver that, we need to engage customers from different demographic groups in the online community as a sounding board, for new ideas and concepts, even before, we build a service. We are also asking some opinion leader groups, to be beta tester of our products and services. Say, for example, on the recent Citi mobile apps, there is a tell us button, for all the clients to share ideas and feedback with us. Once the friction point is identified, we aim to find a solution to fix it as quickly as possible. So yes, as an incumbent bank, we do have a little bit of advantage and strength, over new entrants, but we won't take it too lightly, in catching up, in terms of making a perfect and better, client experience in all the banking transactions that we have, interactions with our clients, which I do think that, the virtual bank is very much focused on, and they will excel, in that space.
Thank you, Angel. I think can't agree more. The outside-in approach, right? How can we actually kind of start from a user perspective and always seek improvement by using customer's voice, right, as the most important input to the whole thing, right, to improve the product and services. So to Kelvin, I think Xiaomi is a partner in AMTD's joint venture for virtual bank, the Air Star. So how do you plan to leverage? I mean, just the one point that we mentioned about, the technology is so important. Even though we have like outside-in thing, we also have to look from inside-out thing, right? So how can we actually build things bottom up? How can you leverage, the Xiaomi's hardware distribution and brand, with the virtual bank?
Thanks for the question. I think it's been one of the amazing things that when you see the virtual banks, the license giving out to each of the different successful winner. In fact, I think out of each of the winner, they have different composition of the shareholders. I think what will be one of the very much exciting point is to see how each of these virtual banks will get leverage onto the network of resources and also the strengths and capabilities of each of the different shareholders, and to see, I think how they could interact with each other's ecosystem. I think from AMTD side, I think over the several years of building, I think we focus a lot into ecosystem. This is actually one of our most invested area. I think out of our collaborative partnership, out of our investment, I think into the investee companies, and also into our shareholders, in fact, right? So Xiaomi, I think, in fact, is one of our shareholders, and in fact, they also work with us, I think, as our shareholder, but also as our partner for the virtual bank. I think the partnership has been great, I think, so far. That I think we are very happy and proud to be the first two digital banks to officially open for businesses in Hong Kong. And I think on the overall basis, then, what is Xiaomi and how they can be relevant, I think, for the digital bank. So I think when we look into the overall, I think first, Xiaomi is the fourth largest mobile handset maker in the world. But I think very relevant is that they are the largest AIoT consumer platform globally. I think as of the latest, I think Xiaomi has invested in over 300 companies, delivering more than 2,000 product SKUs, I think, in the IoT areas. So they are very much involved. In fact, when we talk about how the pandemic changed our daily living, in fact, they are very much incorporated into the smart living, to day-to-day living of our customers. Or in fact, you name it, including all these smart washers, smart dryers, smart robot vacuum cleaner, wireless earphones, and electric scooter, many different kinds, right? So I think how all this can be for IoT, I think apply and adopt, I think, into smart banking. Of course, is something that we will be very much focused into. And I think there are several areas that we see, in fact, yet more important than on the business side. I think it's in fact focusing into the risk control methodologies. That we see that all these IoT gadgets and also the connectivity with the customers ultimately will deliver our better understanding of every customers. Think of it in a way that customers of Xiaomi, using the Xiaomi phone, and in fact, being customers also AirStar, and in fact, on average basis, I think, the nowadays study looking into people using phone at least 3 to 4 hours a day, I think, on an accumulated basis. So how those kind of can be turning into a better understanding into each customer, I think it's something that we would want to provide beyond banking type of customer experience. I think Angel pointed it all right. I think in this new world, it's really about the long legacy history, I think, for the incumbent banks. But first is, I think, the new way of innovations, I think, for the digital banks. So I think, ultimately, I think all this, I see music to the ears of the customers, and there'll be more variety and choices, in fact. So I think, just to sum up, I think when you look into AMTD and Xiaomi, I think in the future of delivery of digital banking, we see it as more than just a single digital banking concept. I think Xiaomi, they have a digital bank in China, the Xinhuang Bank, and now that we have the AirStar Bank, and I think we have been looking into more opportunities to expand into the digital bank opportunities and arena, I think, across Asia. So I think it will be AMTD plus Xiaomi, I think more, building into a network of digital bank, and in fact also into hardware plus virtual banking model. But finally, I think into how we leverage the tech side and the strong understanding about Hong Kong financial industry side, from AMTD to build hopefully our overall competitiveness of AirStar Bank into the future.
Thanks, Kelvin. Pretty interested to understand deeper, the interaction between technology, and the banking services, right? As long as you are having a native, integration, seamless integration, I believe that this is kind of an added strength and advantage of having, Xiaomi together with the AMTD solution as a whole, right? Let me move on a little bit. I mean, all the things, seems to be very promising, very, integrated. But then regarding, the fintech adoption and beyond, right? So we have talked about all this kind of impact, COVID-19. So what kind of major challenges that you headwind they can anticipate in the next 12 months? And for example, fintech is one of the tools that help you to alleviate the pressure and also to lower the risk. So can you share your opinion on that, Angel?
I think, it will take some time, for the global and the local economy to recover, from COVID. So when coupling, with a prolonged period of low interest rate, we do anticipate, the operating environments to remain very challenging for the bank in the near term. So it's actually more important, for the bank to continue looking for ways to operate more efficiently. And we have been doing that, through digitizing our operations as well. So I think, Kelvin and I talk a lot, about the behavior change of the customers, and that's pushed, the bank, digital bank or not, virtual bank or not, to do a lot more digitization in the front end, to servicing our clients. But I think, at the same time, bank and operator has to look at our back end, how to make ourselves more efficient and how to make the transactions more end-to-end, digitized. So in Citi, we actually focus on three areas. We always talk about elimination, simplification, and automation. And technology play a very important part, and fintech play an important part, in all these three. Technology can help us to eliminate process that we don't need, to simplify the complex procedure, and obviously, to automate, some repetitive and time-consuming processes, so that we can allocate resource to other places and achieve better cost-to-serve ratio.
Yeah, thanks, Angel. Totally agree. I think, as always, we have to continue the journey, right? It's a tool that, how well we are going to use it, I think is kind of, I would say, unlimited. So, Kelvin, what's your view on that, from a VB perspective,
Well, I think I look into the overall society and also the various market sector and industry. But I think, VB, I think, as in one area, of course, widely connected, I think, with the vast markets. It will be very much important, as we see it will be to maintain operational resilience. And I think, in terms of also cash flow and capital positions, will be also very much important to preserve, to ensure that you have enough, I think, of course, to navigate over the very uncertain, I think, market conditions, I think, for the months ahead of time. I think in terms of the overall of such, I think we see that fintech can play a very important role. I think ultimately, I think due to several reasons. One is that I think fintech are usually, I think, when they are into many different sub-verticals or different expertise areas, I think they are usually very much micro-focused into a particular customer segment, into a particular business process, or particular areas of pain points that they want to cater. But in fact, they provide a lot more insights and in-depth understanding about particular customers. And in fact, fintech companies can also be able to partner with the traditional financial institutions to better their understanding into some of these areas. And I think number two is that, of course, they are usually very simple. I think, as Angel put it, in a way that because they do not have legacy, they are relatively more flexible. Well, in fact, they are flexible also enough because that they are usually less regulated, because that they are sometimes more leaning towards into the innovative side or the technology side. So I think how they could be more adapting to the ever-changing environment. I think another important point, I think lastly, is that they are usually built on and based on a partnership approach, that they will work with different others, either fintech, sub-vertical companies with other verticals, but in fact also with the incumbents, or in fact also with the virtual bank as well. So on an overall basis, I think all these approaches will allow fintech to find their space and their areas of support, I think, to the growing and developing of the market. And in fact, I would encourage very much fintech companies to be, in fact, even more active, that we see that opportunities for more of a collaborative model coming out, and that will be a very good moment of time currently during pandemic for them to step up and, in fact, to grow further.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel this is really, inspiring, starting from eliminating, the legacy, unnecessary complexity, and then allow, the fintech companies to work closer with incumbent players, the banks, and also the virtual banks, to step up to the level that we need. I think I can see a lot of energy and the momentum being amplified in this way, which is really a great news to all of us. So moving on a little bit, I think about, new business opportunities. So, Angel, I think the question I want to pose to you first. Earlier this year, Wealth Management Connect was launched, as a GBA cross-border wealth management pilot. So how would you consider to differentiate your future cross-border products from others?
First of all, we are very, very excited, to look at the GBA opportunity. GBA is an affluent region, that contributes to 12% of China's GDP. So within the Wealth Management Connect scheme, we see tremendous opportunities, for us to serve this new affluent segments by bringing, our global wealth management service and then the diverse, product range to this region. How do we differentiate ourselves, on this cross-border products for the GBA affluent targets? I think, coming back, to what we talked a lot about previously, the fintech and also, all these technology development. When we think about the future operation mode, for local or cross-border clients, digital ability or capability, is very important. Because if everything rely on face-to-face or everything, have to be, have a physical presence, is actually, slow down, our ability to bring new products and services to our clients. So we have, set up dedicated team, to look at a number of different areas, including account opening, including, a new product and services that we would make available digitally, for our customer. So that they can access it, whenever that they want, wherever that they want. Obviously, because the Wealth Connect is a closed loop arrangement, so all the system, have to, anticipate, for that. And also, fintech as well as technology has to be there to help for us to protect, this particular compliance rule, of the regulator. So I think, all in all, we also need to rely, very much of innovation to help us to service our cross-border clients whenever, wherever, they are in the most convenient way, but within the framework, of compliance and regulation. So I think, this is a very exciting area, but also, is an area that call for, a lot of innovation and call for a lot of fintech support.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Enjoy, I totally agree. I think this is not a simple topic. And it's like a combination of technology, compliance, regulations, and cross-border challenges. I think all the experts, also the talents have to really come together to find solutions holistically, but not just simplifying one thing, but also connecting to the other part of the world. And then I would say this is one example. It's not just about the 3 locations, but in the future, it could be more, right? I think it's kind of a good, start, from our perspective. So, Kelvin, I think to you, I think a little bit different, perspective. How do you see, the GBA opportunity, of course, right, and the overseas market for offering like digital banking service? Even more, today, I'm becoming the Airstar customer. So I'm a little bit more greedy, so I really want more, right? If I really want to start a company, what kind of if I'm an SME customer, how will you do it, any kind of a service for me, right? So which segment will you consider as your next priority going forward?
Joseph, I think the GBA national strategy, I think, of our country, I think, of course, presents some very huge opportunity, I think, for every company, but in fact, I think for financial institution player. Same thing, I think, for AMT side, I think we do not have the many years of history like Citi, but in terms of especially how we build out our companies, I think in a few years in Hong Kong, I think the GBA areas all offer a much bigger market opportunity. I think when the Angel talk about the percentage of contribution, I think to the overall Chinese economy, I think we look into also about the population. I think over 71 million population, of course, a huge market potentials. I think for everyone, I think offering services. That how we see ourselves, as AMPD, we look into several areas. One is in terms of asset allocation. We see that there will be in greater power and advantages, I think, of Hong Kong financial institution, Hong Kong being Asia, one of the best asset management center, being the US dollar bond fundraising center, being a capital market growth center. I mean, there are a lot we can offer in terms of the diversity, in terms of the variety, how we can support the GBA population in terms of fully diversified asset allocation and to advise upon their overseas asset allocation strategy. AMTD, I think we have been growing very fast. Our asset management portfolio, and on an overall basis, I think we are constantly looking into more partnership and in fact working with a lot of the partners, I think from China or in fact also in the Greater Bay Area. One area I think is the regional banks. I think that we have been working very closely with them, helping them in the past several years for overseas IPO, preferred shares, issuance, and otherwise fundraising, but helping them to manage their money in Hong Kong. And in fact, we'll be dipping into another dimension to work with them, focusing into their customer, how we can deliver a very comprehensive asset allocation strategy. And secondly, I think we are looking into, as we talk about it, building one connected digital solution. And as I early on touched on it, Xiaomi already has a digital bank in China, and now that we have it, Airstar, in Hong Kong within Greater Bay. And onward, we are also looking into how to connect the dots in between the different areas, not just for the Greater Bay, but how to connect the dots from Greater Bay to places like Southeast Asia. So this will be another area that we are looking into it, that how AMT will best position within Greater Bay and expanding into Southeast Asia and connecting the dots to cover the vast Asia market opportunities. And finally, we as a very active investment bank, supporting in recent years lots of the Chinese new economy players coming to list in Hong Kong or fundraising. There will be more opportunities, I think, for the in between, within Greater Bay, for the 9 cities plus Hong Kong and Macau, how we can provide a more in and out capital flows and solutions for them. So recently, I think we are very glad to have obtained the QFLP license in Zhuhai together with Xiaomi. So in the future, there will be more of such solution that we look into Greater Bay Area as a whole, that we can provide more comprehensive, innovative solution to the customers.
So to me, I think it's like not surprised, but I would say, well, another level of engagement. It's not, again, not local, right? So we are talking about cross-border, and then it's kind of a packaging the whole thing, a full story and the journey. I would say just press the button, and then sounds like things will happen pretty close. Thank you so much. I think I really hear a lot, good stuff, good opinion, good views, insights from both of you. And then, looking at time, I think it's all about time. If I can ask the last question, in the next 5-10 years, what will be the dynamics between the incumbent banks and also the virtual banks? So may I have this time, if you don't mind, Kelvin, you go first.
My view is that I think in the future 10 years, if you say it, or even for a longer period of time, I think the fine line between incumbents and also with virtual banks will become more blurred. I think that you will see more of the traditional banks become very much digitalized, if not all digitalized. But at the same time, you will see more of the digital banks having acquired more collaborative partners. And in fact, partners not necessarily over the digital channels, but in fact, kicking in more of the online, offline model, that there will be more of a comprehensive. So I think, the two will become more similar alike. But at the same time, I think, if you look into the overall, I would see that, it's really talking about, and previously, I think Angel and I were in the same panel. We talk about fintech, tech fin. I think it will be more into that. We see the fine line between tech and fin become more blurred. So I think, on an overall basis, I think I'm seeing and will expect to see, aggregators or more of, aggregator coming out that, they are, either in the technology side, but embracing financial services because with their supreme connectivity with lots of the customers. But at the same time, I think there will be more of the, tech partnership from the banks, I think, to create together. So I think ultimately, I think I see that it could be also the fine line between financial services and non-financial services solution become kind of less, clear to creating something more like a digital medium. That's how we see it. Well, in fact, just last word to put it, that is actually the motto or the aim of AMT Digital. That of AMT Group, we are building hopefully a digital medium to be comprehensive, focusing into digital financial services, but at the same time, also embracing non-financial services digital areas. So be comprehensive, value creation, and supporting across all fronts for customers.
Well, absolutely, fantastic. So if I next time buy a Xiaomi phone, I expect they will come with a suite of like financial services, right, with the phone, all streamlined in that way. So so Angel, what's your view on that? What do you see, right, in the next 5-10 years time?
Joseph, actually, I fully agree with Kelvin, with the exception that I don't think, what he said will happen in 10 years. I think it will happen much earlier than 10 years. It's very difficult, nowadays to predict anything beyond 5 years, because the world is changing so fast. Technology innovations are coming so quickly. I do think that, things will change pretty much drastically, in the next 3 years. And I fully agree with Kelvin, and the word that I use is convergence. I think, the incumbent bank and the virtual bank will converge, into more or less, the same shape and form, that we serve as the clients. And the reasons is very simple. The reasons is because the clients are changing, their behavior as well as their wish and wants, are changing. With the younger generations, become bank's main customer in the next decade. And think about it, they are all digital natives. They like the mobile phone more than talking to physical persons. So the shift to digital is irreversible. But there's a need also to balance between high tech and high touch. So the second thing I will highlight is that I think the battlefield, in the future between banks, doesn't matter whether you are virtual or not, because they converge already. But I think the battlefield is on how to use, digital channel to surface high touch needs, of the clients. Case in point, wealth advisory. There's always a belief, that you need some form of human interaction, in the wealth advisory field. But people doesn't want to go to branch anyway. So how are we going to use the channel, a relatively new or different channel, digital or not, to service these, high-touch banking services, to our clients? So I do agree, with Kelvin that, there are a lot of cooperation and collaboration, between tech and the financial company, as well as between, virtual bank, as well as the incumbent bank. I'm also a believer that there's never a zero-sum game, between us. And I'm a big believer on establishing ecosystem. And the ecosystem, can have a lot of, people in the ecosystem who can bring, very different things, different values, on the table to service our clients better than before. So I would predict, these three things to happen in the 3 years' time. But if, many more people like what Kelvin and I, are saying and thinking, I think, that will happen faster, than we thought.
Thank you, Angel. I think you're absolutely right. I think 5 years is too long, right? So everyone believes, new technology will come into market in 12 months, right? Or even less in the future. So many of them are actually very disruptive. So we can't actually stop here, right? So we will have to continuously unlearn and learn, right? So I think we have to refresh ourselves from time to time. So it's particularly important. Anyway, I think once again, I really want to thank you, for both of you, give us a lot of useful information, insights, and your assessment of today and the future market. So again, thank you very much, for your support and inspiring experience sharing. I also want to really thank you for the tech team today, to support the fantastic section. And I hope you all enjoy, this section and continue to explore the rest of the FinTech Week event. Stay well, and looking forward to, seeing you all again in the future. Thank you.